entire generations of indigenous people were forced into these fucking boarding schools. My grandma was 5 years old. Think about any 5-year-old you know.
Right.
She was put into this fucking institution that beat the shit out of you if you spoke your native language.
Right.
They hated these kids.
Right.
They hated everything. So here you're 5. We're going to put you in an institution that fucking hates you fundamentally, and they're going to tell you everything about you's wrong. They're going to sexually abuse you. They're going to emotionally abuse you. They're going to physically abuse you. Right. And then they're just going to send you back out in the world because you're white enough now, and you got to go raise families after like a whole life of being traumatized. And we have generations of that.
Welcome to Get Heavy Podcast. With your host, Craig Casamas and Big J Curran.
All right. What's up, guys? Welcome to Get Heavy Podcast. We are riding the coattails. Okay, sorry.
What did I? Oh.
Yeah, because your ass. I guess I should.
The beauties of the podcast. You want to fuck around with that bag more?
Yeah, a little bit more. Okay.
Cool.
Crack it open.
Here we go.
Everyone good?
Should I crack it right now?
Yeah,
I'm
go
gonna
ahead and crack
it
it
right
now. Go ahead.
Yep. Let's get that done.
There it is.
All right.
We good?
All right, we're good. There's nothing left.
All right. What's up, guys? Welcome to Get Heavy Podcast.
Hey.
We are riding the coattails of what was a beautiful day yesterday.
So beautiful.
Jay's daughter got married, and we were all there. And so we decided to bring a very special guest on the podcast. I'm going to let Jay introduce her because they are related, apparently.
So this is my uncle's daughter. So you guys understand this is actually a blood relative.
Yeah.
Wow.
I know I have a lot of relatives that come in that are not necessarily blood, but they're still my family. So relax. But yeah, this is my cousin Forrest. I've known about her my whole life. We didn't meet until
2008.
2008. I knew who she was. I knew that I had a cousin named Forrest that was in Alaska, that was a native Alaskan
Native. It actually matters.
Alaskan Native. So
gonna be a lot of
this is
that,
going to
dude.
be a lot of
Oh,
that.
all day. I can't wait.
Yeah. So anyways, in 2008 she came down, and she's my sister.
Yeah.
You know, she's my little sister, just like Chris is my little sister. I love her to pieces. She's a giant pain in the ass, just like Chris is a giant pain in the ass.
Yeah.
Right.
But I'm very, very lucky that I have 2 little sisters. She's somehow managed in our family to get her doctorate in anthropology.
Wow.
What is it?
Anthropology. Idiot.
Anthropology is what I was trying to say.
Good God.
I'm sorry. She just always talks about her thing for certain things, so I thought it was anthropology. But she lives in Alaska.
Yep.
She teaches as a professor at U of A.
Yeah, University of Alaska Southeast.
Yes. Yep. And it is very, very awesome to be able to call her a doctor. I like it, you know. But it's just, she's one of my favorite people in the world, and I'm very grateful to have her here. And I really am, like, I want everybody to hear how she got her degree and what she's done and what it took to get there, because I got to follow it through Instagram and through her living with me, and just the work that it took was so much. You know what I mean? Like, it was unbelievable. And her commitment to it, and her dedication to her people, because she is a native Alaskan.
Alaskan Native, idiot.
I know. So, all that being said,
Love you.
yeah.
Well, I'm very excited to have you on. By the way.
I am too. And I really am looking forward to it, because I've seen her escapades and the stuff that she does, where she goes out and talks to us or shows us, like, how she goes out and does, like, frog eggs and all these different things she does.
Herring eggs.
Herring eggs.
I'm a salmon slaying motherfucker too. I've caught more salmon
You
than
smell like it.
almost any human you know.
Yeah, I bet. You
Except
can
for the
tell.
salty dog
Yeah.
commercial
You
fisherman.
haven't been around salmon in like a month, and you still got the
I am proud. That's a cologne I am proud of.
There you go. Yeah.
I teach some men how to fish. You kidding
Yeah.
me?
So what? Obviously, born in Alaska, grew up in Alaska.
Yep.
Right, where?
So Southeast Alaska. So I'm from the Metlakatla Indian community, which is the only native reservation in the whole state. So there's a whole weird politics behind that I won't lecture you on.
Okay.
But it's actually fucking great. It's this little town. There's about 1,000 people there on a net island in southern Southeast Alaska. So if you take a cruise ship and usually they start in Vancouver or Washington, right? And you head north.
Which that's the only experience I have. Is
yeah. So you would have stopped in Ketchikan?
Yeah.
So that's usually your first stop if you're heading north. The town I grew up in is about 15 miles, like as the crow flies out towards the ocean. So
nice.
It was great. I realized in hindsight how lucky I was to grow up in a place like that, because you have the beach and the woods, and I grew up going out and fishing and like going and harvesting seaweed and going and getting cockles and clams in the wintertime. Like harvesting from the land was just always a part of my life in this really wonderful little community where like racism wasn't a thing I experienced because everybody else around me is native. Like there's a couple of white folks there, you know what I mean? But like, so it was you're kind of sheltered from a lot of that stuff there. And like, it just a really, really beautiful, amazing place to grow up. And like this idiot, like same thing. I knew like my parents got divorced.
Hold on, I do want to tell you that it tickles me to hear a doctor call you an idiot. It just makes me so happy in like a weird way. Sorry, please continue, doctor.
I mean, so I was a village kid, and like people, like we don't go to college. Like no one in my family had college degrees.
Right.
It's kind of weird that I ended up on this path, but like it was also wonderful because part of it was my journey of connecting with this side of my family, right? So my parents divorced. My mom and dad divorced when I was like 3. I grew up in the village with my mom's side of the family.
Married?
Yeah, they were married for 3 years.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
And then, so we were, there was some tension and didn't see my dad much when I was younger. And then as an adult, I started like reconnecting with my dad. And he kept telling me for years, he's like, you have a bunch of family in California, you should go visit. And I'm like, oh, sure, yeah, I'll get right on that, you know? And then he kind of in tandem with your mother, guilted me and basically forced me into stopping in California. And I will never forget, like, getting Norma's number, your mom's number, and like it's like, okay, we're coordinating, and I'll never forget pulling up to Michelle's house, and it was you and your mom and Michelle standing out in the yard with the biggest shit-eating grins on your faces, and like, you're nervous because like I don't fucking know these people, like who, but I'll do the thing because my dad wants me to do the thing, and it was like instantly.
So was that the first time you encountered true racism?
Okay, I do have to tell the story. So we have a barbecue at Michelle's that night. He starts out with his mom making nachos with pomegranates on it, which is such a fucking Norma thing to do.
Oh, yeah.
And then we got hammered, and Jay makes barbecue. I have this friend of mine with me, Bill, who's just this cute little gay dude, right? We fucking also not the best drinker. So like he went from like 0 to just shit-faced.
Shithouse,
yeah, like he was one of those.
Yeah.
But we're all like just laughing, and it was wonderful because it's like this instant connection. I'm just feeling really like good about like, look at this family. I feel like I've known them my whole life.
Yeah, yeah.
We're standing outside, and and like him and his sister are just giggling away, and they're like looking at me, but they won't tell me what it is. I'm like, what the fuck is wrong with them? So I walk in the house, and there's my friend Bill, who'd been passed out in the chair for maybe an hour. And what they had done is pulled his dick out of his pants and put it in his hand. So he's blacked out, passed out on the chair with his dick in his hand. This is the first day. This is our first like meeting with each other.
Me and my sister are not kids.
No,
This is in our 40s.
I want to know
Yeah,
who
40.
touched his
I
dick.
did. Yeah, hell yeah, I did.
Yeah.
Yeah, no. Isn't this kid grew up in the village as well?
Oh no, well he was from Ketchikan,
Okay.
so like
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
kind of that's the small city, when you're from that area.
Yeah.
But yeah, I never told Bill about that for like 10 years.
No way. Oh well, he's gonna find out about it now.
He doesn't
Yeah.
really want to know all this stuff. I was like, put his fucking dick back in his
Remember when
pants
you got
right now.
molested in California, dude? Also, passing out. It's fair game.
Yeah, I
It is
know,
fair
I
game.
know.
Especially down here with dude, you used to pass out with your shoes on. You were in trouble. Like you know what I mean? You'd get fucked up. But that's amazing, man. That's such a good story.
Yeah, it really was. But as like kind of like crazy as it was really this moment of like, oh, these motherfuckers are my family. Like, there is no doubt that we're related. You know, like it was instant.
That's so good, man.
Yeah.
Oh, it was such a great. It was just such a great time.
Yeah.
The next day I think it was, or soon after that, we hopped on the motorcycle and I took her on a J trip and we went to an Irish pub called, I think it's the 37 or something down in the valley, and then we went to Studio City and we just we spent the whole day out.
That's awesome.
Getting to know each other and having a good time, and it was incredible, you know.
Really
and that was the start of another little sister. It was amazing.
That's amazing, man.
Yeah. Oh.
Yeah.
So growing up in the village and shit, I mean, what, as far as it goes, you're getting, and are you involved? I mean, what do you teach now? Exactly.
So now I teach anthropology, which, okay.
If
so
you
not a lot of
for
people
our
know what
audience,
anthropology is.
please
so,
tell us what anthropology
I'm going to dumb
is.
it down for Jason, actually.
Yeah.
So anthropology, just broadly speaking, is the study of human beings.
Right.
And like there's 4 subfields in the United States. Everyone's heard of archaeology, right? Where
Right.
you're looking at material remains. So that's like a subfield of anthropology. I'm a cultural anthropologist, so I look at like how culture functions to shape the way we think about the world and interact with each other and the value systems we have. Like for many of us, we just take these things for granted and think they're normal, but there's always a history to things. There's why that we value certain things and don't value certain things, and that's always been super fascinating to me.
Totally, yeah.
So I teach that and Alaskan Native Studies.
Okay.
So that's that's probably my favorite thing to teach, because like my favorite thing about my job is just being able to completely fucking explode people's understanding of the world and like rebuild it, right? It's like, okay, here's the shit that you were taught, for example, about American history, right? It was actually a fucking fairy tale. What they didn't teach you.
Well, history's written by the winners.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Yes, but also like it's always going to be biased, right?
Nailed
So.
it.
But if you're proud of winning by fucking genocide, by fucking not honoring a single fucking treaty they've ever signed with any indigenous person in the United States, cool, be proud of that.
Yeah.
Welcome
But
to the
you know,
world.
yeah,
Welcome to the
okay.
world.
But see, that's such a lame excuse. Like, okay.
I had nothing to do with it, so you can stop doing
Your
this to
fucking
me.
ancestors did. Well, they're mine
My
too,
ancestors
actually.
were Irish. We didn't have shit. We got fucked by the English just like everybody else did.
I know.
Yeah.
The fact that everybody still just ignores the fact that the English were just insane colonists for years and years and years.
Brown
and
people
years.
don't ignore that. Only
Yeah.
white people ignore that.
yeah.
Everybody else is like,
Yeah.
oh, we fucking know. Fuck the
Yeah.
queen.
Yeah.
I don't understand why people are so upset.
And-
okay, maybe
and
I shouldn't.
Just
I'm gonna
remember
say
the
that.
Irish are white. And they got the same reaming that everybody else did down in
Yeah.
India.
I mean,
Northern
it's
Africa and
throughout
stuff.
history.
point, yeah.
The natural, something about the human race is to naturally crush the person next to you to gain.
See, I don't
You know what I mean?
know.
And not in all cultures,
If I
obviously.
agree
but
with that, though, I think
but
that
history
that's
tells
a
us
story
that's how it
that
is.
we're told so
Okay.
that we feel okay with continuing that sort of oppression and
Right.
aggression towards other people. Because I think you can actually look, if you actually really look across cultures and across history, and not just history written by white Europeans,
Sure.
you actually find that humans are really fucking amazing, beautiful things.
Sure.
You can look back like 40,000-year-old like burial sites where they're showing like someone who physically could not have like contributed to society, right? They weren't going to be a hunter. They weren't going to be a gatherer. They didn't have like, they had some sort of like misformation of their body, which means for them to exist and grow to the age that they were, they would have needed care by everybody in the community.
Sure.
And we have that like throughout human history.
Sure.
You see these burials of people. It's like, oh, people loved this person. They
Yeah.
cared for this member of their community.
Sure.
And
Yeah.
that to me is like, we just don't emphasize that in the narratives enough, right? We
No.
don't like we emphasize the like the aggression and the power and like the negativity rather than also showing the fucking love and sacrifice
Right.
and care that we actually all know that we need and
Yeah.
we do, and like that's when we're at our happiest, you know? So that's where I like anthropology as well, is because it like it's given me this capacity to look outside the sort of broader narratives that we
yeah.
all just kind of
Yeah.
get fed all the time about
Yeah.
what human beings are.
Well, I mean,
with
there's
that, the outside of that is the village did take care of themselves and took care of all of the people, but there still was, here's one village and here's another village, and there still is always, no matter where you are in the world, there's always going to be
the turmoil.
There's something there that's going to make you,
absolutely.
you know,
but
I mean,
also like working together and saying, okay,
Yeah.
we both need access to this resource. Let's figure out a way that we can both like fish out of this one area without fighting each other, right?
Yeah.
Like sometimes, yeah, you're gonna go to war. Fuck it.
Yeah.
But a lot of times, like we're actually quite good at being like, all right, let's sit down and figure out like
Right.
how we don't have to fight each other over this thing, how we can actually work together
Right.
to benefit everybody else.
Yeah.
And we're pretty great at that, you know,
Yeah.
So then why are you always starting fights with me?
because you're dumb.
That's
And
that is
you
not
require
okay. It is not
me
okay.
yelling at
That
you.
is very rude. You went and got your doctorate so
Yeah,
that you could then
I
just
got
go,
my
because
doctorate,
you're
so
dumb.
I will always win fights with you. That
don't
was
always
part of the
win.
motivation.
Most of the time, but you don't always win.
Statistically,
No,
it's an
no.
always, you know.
Yeah.
60% of the time,
Yeah,
she wins
60,
every time.
70%.
Yeah, it's weird. It's weird because all things can be true at the same time, right?
Mm-hmm.
There's cultures that are beautiful, and you know
Mm-hmm.
they figured out how to share, and then I read like Empire of the Summer Moon recently.
geez, man.
Holy
Wow.
fuck, dude! You know what I mean?
Wow.
Like,
Yeah.
this is a tribe that is nuts. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like, and all the things are bad at the same time that they're all fucking beautiful. You know, so the study of culture has always been fascinating to me. You know, because I think if we were smart and we really truly wrote history as it was,
Yeah.
or at least gave the losers the opportunity to tell their side of the story, you know what I mean? The losers, right?
Yep.
We would find out a lot more about what the fuck is actually going on in this place,
Yeah,
you
like
know?
giving some more context and reality to situations, right? Like,
Right.
yeah, and I love that. Like, I've always been interested in weird shit and like things that disrupt my general understanding of the world, and I
You
felt like,
really explained your dating.
oh man, you should see what I'm dating right now. He's a mountain man motherfucker.
Nice.
Yeah,
That's good.
it is.
There's no way Jay's pulling his dick out while he's
Well,
maybe.
yeah.
Yeah. So what made you decide to break the fucking mold and go to college and do the thing? Were you always, was it anthropology from the beginning?
No, I didn't even I was like, Jason, I didn't know what anthropology was when I first started going to school.
Right.
I was like, you know, this like 20-something in the village, and I love Metlakatla, but I also just had this sort of sense of like, my life isn't just supposed to be here. Like, I
Right.
knew there was something more, I just didn't know what it was. So I started traveling. I got a working holiday visa in New Zealand, went to New Zealand for a year, Australia for a little while, and then just was addicted and started doing more traveling. And then I was like, okay, this is it. I'm just going to travel for the rest of my life, because I bartended at the time, which of course you can make really
You
good
can
money
do
if you're
anywhere,
smart,
yeah,
where it's
yeah.
just you're just like socking money away to do that. And then actually my mom, who lives in Ketchikan now, needed to have some knee replacement surgeries, and she's like, I need you home for at least a year, maybe two, to help me with this. So I was like, well, fuck, if I don't do something productive, I'm just going to be in the bar all the time.
Totally.
So I started taking classes at UAS in Ketchikan, which is like this little satellite campus. Great little school, wonderful professors. Because the people that are there actually love it. They love Ketchikan, they love Southeast Alaska, they care about their job. And so yeah, I was like, all right, I'm gonna go for a 2-year associate's degree, so I'm, not getting into trouble, and help my mom out. And then I was just gonna start traveling again, and then turns out I'm a real fucking nerd, and I didn't know that.
Everybody else did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, just like took a few different classes, and then had this amazing anthropology professor. She just retired. Her name was Priscilla Schulte. Just like, she's one of those people, when you first meet her, she's really smart and dresses really like in a suit and just seems real serious and professional. And so she's a little intimidating. And then we had these field school classes we would take, where the whole class was, you did a month of like prepping you for what archaeology is. And then we took a boat and we spent a week out in the woods, just like looking at archaeology sites in
that's
South.
cool.
It was the fucking best thing.
Yeah.
So great.
Yeah.
And like, so I saw her go from like this classroom space to this like out in the wild space, and she just transformed into this like hilarious, she was in her 60s at this time, 65 maybe,
Right
60.
there. You too.
And then, so she was like, just like hiking around the woods and just being goofy. And I saw this other side of her that I just was like, oh, I want to know more about her. And she like saw something in me, and she became my mentor. So she asked me to start working for her and encouraged me to apply for some research grants. And I got some money to do research. And then all of a sudden I was like, I guess I'm going to be an anthropologist.
You found your career.
Yeah, and it's great.
It was cool watching, because she's like, yeah, I'm doing all this stuff, and I'm at school, and I'm trying to figure this out, and and she's talking about it, and then she's like holding up fish, and I really want to, because I joke about it a lot, but I want to get back to it. But just watching her, like, I'm now working on this part of this, and then she's working next to the river, and she's pulling out salmon, and she's doing all this different stuff out in the woods, and she's wearing her rain gear and
covered in fish blood.
Yeah,
just all
just
over.
covered. And she's like, yeah, I'm in school.
You're all, whoa.
Wow.
Yeah.
You know, it was really, really cool. And if you guys don't, nobody's going to understand this, look into it, because it's super interesting, fascinating. The whole herring egg.
Oh, yeah.
It is, first of all, gross. Let's
so
get
delicious.
that out of the way.
It tastes like the ocean. It's
Okay,
lovely.
So, enlighten us. What is this?
Explain this,
So
man. 'cause
there's
Drink out of there?
herring, which used to exist prolifically. They're actually a forage fish, which what that means is that almost every species in the ocean and on land somehow relies on them. And they used to be all over the world. They've been really overfished. And so as far as Southeast Alaska, there's only one place where there's a good herring spawn, which means there's a certain time of year in the spring that the herring come into the inside waters, because it's like all kinds of islands next to the mainland on that Southeast Panhandle. Mm-hmm. And so the herring come into this one spot, Sitka Sound, and they spawn, and it's this really beautiful, like, it's the start of spring, and you know that just not by a calendar, but by the environment. Because like when the herring come, that's when everything shows up. The seals, the sea lions, the whales, all the fucking birds. Like, you go from this kind of quiet, chill, like hunkered down winter to all of a sudden, like, Southeast Alaska fucking explodes in this place because everything's there for the herring.
For the herring.
Well, they still are continuing to commercial fish it very problematically, but also that herring eggs on hemlock branches, which I'll explain in a second, it has been a very important traditional food for the indigenous people in Alaska for tens of thousands of years. So like and we have, like, of course the Native people's oral history will tell you this, but white folks don't like to listen to Native people's oral histories. They have to do this the archaeological stuff, and the archaeology's catching up with our oral histories, and we've been telling them it's been thousands of years, right? Anyway, so
yeah, they're just starting. They're like, hey, oh wow, that is weird.
So they're fished predominantly for Japan. So they like, it's called sacro. So they actually scoop like tens of thousands of tons of these herring out of the ocean, but they only want the females. And what they do is they cut open the female, they take the egg sac out, and that's a delicacy in Japan.
Okay.
All the rest of it is wasted. Or they like grind it up into fish meal or whatever. Yeah. Okay, so the traditional food for Native people, we eat it in several ways, but we actually eat the eggs after the herring have already released them. So what we do is we cut down a certain size of hemlock branch from the mountain hemlock tree, and you sink the hemlock. You like put a rock on the bottom and you weight it down, and then the eggs, when they first spawn, the eggs will stick to fucking anything. If you stick a stick in the water, you pull it out, it'll be covered with these tiny little white eggs. And so we use hemlock. We also use certain kinds of seaweed, and so there's like, it's a real short, like 2-week window. You get these eggs, you pull them out, and then they get now shipped all to, like, it's not just Southeast Alaska Native people that eat them. It's people all over Alaska, and it's just like, it's a really beautiful,
some sort of like a caviar type of thing.
Yeah, it's salty. It tastes like the ocean. That's what it tastes like to me.
Yeah.
And they freeze pretty well, so it's something like growing up when we would have like Native food dinners, which has always been a family thing. It's not food you just eat by yourself. Like, I've never been like, oh, I'm going to sit down and have herring eggs in front of the TV by myself. That's not something you do. It's always been something where it's like, oh, the aunties and the uncles and the cousins and everybody are coming over, and then we're going to have smoked fish, and we're going to have all the things, right? And we're bringing out our berries. We're bringing out all of our foods that we've harvested throughout the year. And yeah, so it's the fucking coolest thing. I wish more people could experience it. Like
Yeah.
just experience like being out on a boat, like being out on the water when that's happening and
Right.
seeing like everything come to life. It's a really,
Yeah.
and it's shared. That's one of the really things I also really
that's-
love about it is
yeah.
how it's like, I know some high volume herring egg harvesters who will harvest like 7,000 or 8,000 pounds of herring eggs on hemlock branches.
Wow.
And they like Alaska Airlines preps their employees for herring egg time.
Really?
Seriously. Oh yeah, they know. Like if you work in Sitka, you're going to learn about herring egg time
Right.
because these people will show up with like a fucking trolley that has 50-pound fish boxes on it
Wow.
that are full of herring eggs that they're shipping all over the
Wow.
state. It's pretty cool.
That's crazy. So here's a weird question: is because it's beautiful to know about culture, right? All sorts of cultures and honor it, but how much of it now is kind of backfires? You know what I mean? Because you got people that, your fucking man bun wearing Patagonia fucking world travelers that now just want to explode into this and exploit things, right?
Yeah.
They want to build a whole business off of it. They're going to honor the native people, but they're going to make a huge profit on it. You know what I mean? So it's like there's always a weird thing, it seems like, with sharing all these beauties. Like, how much of it do you want to keep secret? Like, is it important to you to keep any of it secret?
I don't think secrecy is necessary because it's a food that it's very few people who've like he said, he thinks it's gross. If you have, Sarah loves it.
Hold on,
I was
hold on.
proud
We
of
all
Sarah.
know I don't like fish.
Oh,
Yeah, he doesn't
So
like
I don't
seafood.
like
fish. I would fuck up some
She
herring
makes
for
me
sure.
eat smoked salmon anytime she
Do you
has
hear
it.
what he just
so
said?
good.
What?
Oh no, I make you eat smoked
You do-
salmon.
you do- I know.
Poor baby.
I don't like it. I do not like it. I've never
do this when
fucking
you say
liked
that.
it.
I don't like it.
But she still goes, okay, I understand you don't like it, but you need to try it, and I try it again.
It's like a 5-year-old.
All the time. I don't like, there's not a lot of things I don't
Totally,
like,
dude.
you
Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
I don't like salmon.
Yeah. Okay,
But she
that's fine.
does when she opens a salmon up and she makes some sort of fantastic salmon dip that everybody loves. And
'Cause it's good.
Yeah, sure. You know,
not a fan.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I eat ass. It's not for everybody. You know what I mean? So,
Yeah. Yeah, it's weird. Yeah, so for you to keep like not just the food and the things, but the culture. Is there anything
Yeah.
important like to keep secret from people? And
That's
not that you have
such
to
a
tell
good
them what it
question.
is.
I think see, the hard thing is like the things that I've grown up doing and then have learned even more about and try to support going out on the land and harvesting is actually, I really wish, I think if more people were actually that involved with their foods, we'd be in a very
yes,
different place
that
in the
is
world
true,
right
for
now.
sure, yeah.
Because it teaches you have so much more appreciation of the food that you're eating
Right.
when you know from start to finish what
Totally,
happened to that.
yeah.
You went and picked those berries and then you
100%.
spent all the time to wash them and you did the thing, right? Or the fish, it's so fucking much work to process fish. Actually,
hard.
fishing's the easy part.
Yeah.
In Sitka, we do what's called dip netting. So there's this area called Redoubt. It's about a 30-minute boat ride from Sitka Sound. And you have this net hoop, I don't know. It's about this big. It's on a 10-foot pole. It's real hard to maneuver, but you're dipping fish out of the water, but you have to do it in the waterfall because
Sure.
fish are smart and they can see things in the water. So
Right.
you have to put your net in where it's all foamy and they can't see it. It's real fucking hard work. But you get into this I get into a zone where if I'm catching fish, you're gonna have to drag me away from that fucking
Right,
spot to get me
right.
to stop. But you work your ass off. I think my best day of dip knitting, just me, was probably 160. Not just me. Just me was probably 80. With someone to actually move the net up to so they can take the fish out of the net and help because that's
Right.
important. I think we've had 160 fish in a day.
Jeez, man. Yeah.
But
I think people are seriously detached from how their food is made or brought. I mean, we've talked
It's
about
mind-blowing.
this. Yeah,
It just blows my mind.
Yeah.
It's like
we all are. You know.
You can't just sit there and not understand there's a process with all the food and the way things that they're doing things now, you're losing so much of the actual energy in food, the process that you get the food, the nutrients, how you get it because of commercial ranching and commercial farming, that it's all just kind of taken away. And people
Right.
are just I'm just going to eat this spinach and don't tomatoes are the best example in the world.
Right.
You can go to the store all day long and get tomatoes all day. There is nothing better than a fresh, like Harvey just gave us tomatoes, and she made this, I don't even know what it was called, man. It was so good, but you could taste everything.
Right.
No, the sauce that you made before the eggplant part was so incredible. But most people, majority of the people nowadays, don't understand what that tomato fresh out of the garden, that cucumber, pumpkin, like the flavor that you get, because it's also just washed out.
But also, like, the flavor, absolutely, but also the, like, really healthy learned respect for this other living thing that is feeding you, right? That's nourishing you.
Right. Yeah.
Like, it's like I shit you not, I say thank you. And in Tlingit, which means it's Tlingit land that I'm fishing on, I say gunoshtish, which is the Tlingit word for, or term, like very similar to thank you.
Cheese?
Gunoshtish.
Oh.
I say that to every single salmon before I kill it.
Yeah.
And I have killed thousands of fucking salmon.
Right.
But I do it, like, I recognize that this is a life that's been given to me. I'm going to exist and be able to share this with others because this is a living thing. And it's really hard for me when I see I did commercial fish for about 3 years. I gill netted outside of Juneau, which was cool, but I hated it because it felt like it was a different process. Like, you don't have, you're grinding. You're fucking just trying to get this fucking fish out of the net and get them into the hold so that you can get the net back out. Like, there's no contemplation of what you're doing. And it's almost like it can almost be traumatizing because, like, it's a lot of blood, it's a lot of guts, it's actually violent, even though you try to tell yourself it isn't.
Yeah.
But when I'm doing that with fish that I know I'm gonna give to some elders when I get back into town, or I'm gonna give to my cousin who doesn't have a boat, and then I'm gonna put this up and I'm gonna share it with my family.
Right.
Like, I'm so grateful and appreciative for this life that has been given to me, right? It's and it gives you reverence, right? Like, I respect these species so much more for that.
Right.
That's one of the things that, and as much as we will joke with each other, and I respect her so much and love her so much, and I love listening to her talk about, and that's why the herring thing is such a thing to me, is because how important, and watching her light up about everything. And it's not it's we.
Yeah.
It's, I now get to help feed people in our village, to help take care of all of these different people.
Right.
Maybe it's elders that can't get out, or just regular people that can't get out. But the process is I get to do this so that I can help feed us. And it is just, I love listening to you talk about it, about just that. And again, the fishing and all that stuff is awesome. It really is. But the we share, we do this to take care of people in our village. And and that's what it's kind of, one of the things yesterday when my daughter at the wedding, one of the things I said is like, hey man, not cliche, but truthfully, it's taken a village. There is 10 people right now in here that on a serious level helped me raise my daughter.
Yeah.
Right.
And I'm very lucky in that. And that's what I get from you when you talk about the village and you talk about this stuff. And I can't wait to go up there. But it is the communal aspect of the fishing and all this stuff is just how it really is not just, like when you're on a commercial boat and you just fucking, the fish comes up, ship, bloop, and you're just, and instead you're not, you're not, there's no, you're just doing the work. And then when you're doing it yourself, and you actually get to honor the hunt, you get to honor the fish, you get to honor the whole process of everything.
And you get to see the people
beautiful.
that are getting it, and their reaction to it.
Yeah.
And it's a beautiful thing. So is that something you actually teach, like in your course?
Working on it right now.
So when we got into teaching anthropology, and you teach Alaskan Native studies as well.
So real quick on the Alaskan Native studies thing. So she was living with me for
3
quite
years.
Yeah, 3 years she lived with me.
God,
It's
that was terrible.
the best thing she ever got. It was the most learning she actually got outside of college
wow.
ever. Yeah.
You got nothing out of it.
all
Huh?
got
It
some
was all
real world-
sacrifice on your end, wasn't it?
I got a
Do you
headache.
salute him every day?
Yeah, sure. I wake up every morning just speaking gratitude about Jason.
So
Give him a thank you.
It
Go
was
ahead.
really awesome when she got the paperwork and she came to me and she's just all, they're going to build a program and give me, it's not like somebody didn't retire, here, fill this position.
Yeah, you're getting a create.
There's no, there was
That's
like,
amazing.
hey, we want you to come up here and we're going to create this position for you then to come work.
Yeah.
So is that,
You know?
So lucky, because that's not normal.
and that's what's happening
No.
now?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not
Yeah,
launched
so
yet,
they
but-
basically, like, they
No, that's how
recruited
she-
me.
yeah.
Like, normally PhDs, like, it's a struggle. You got to be willing to, like, go and move to different places and hope
Right.
you can get a job and, like,
Right.
the kind of position you want. But, like, they started, like, getting in touch with me. And this was where I had done my undergraduate degree, so my associate's and bachelor's degree. And they knew I was finishing my PhD, and they're like, "Hey, we would love to have you, and we'll, here's a position you can create your title. What kind of professor do you want to be?"
Wow,
you
that's
know?
awesome.
Yeah.
So yeah, and I'm part of
So
a
her title is Professor, Ruler of All World, Queen of Everybody,
Overlord of Jason Curran.
Overlord of my big brother.
Yep.
Yeah, no,
Yeah, that
and that's
sounds
what
right.
it reads
Yeah.
on her door. Yeah, and then everybody's like, "Where's your brother? I want to meet that guy. He sounds awesome."
Nobody says that. No.
They all the time.
It's on your name plaque. It just
All the
says
time.
"fuck Jason."
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ooh, I do need a little fuck
There you go.
Jason plaque,
Dude,
don't
seriously, you need a plaque on your door
Fuck
at
Big
your
J.
college that says, "Hey, fuck Jason."
I? See this guy?
Yeah.
He's an asshole.
Yeah.
And like
No,
just have a little picture of
That's
your
not what I'm
face.
saying. I just want the hey, fuck Jason, and then a link to my Instagram DM.
There you go.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah, you just want Instagram.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So is the curriculum? It's not up and running yet. You're building it.
Oh no,
currently?
we have it. We
Okay.
just started this degree program. It became live 2 years ago. It's basically a bachelor in Indigenous Studies, and then
Okay.
we're branched. So initially it was focused on like language revitalization and tribal governance, because that's the thing most people don't know is there's a whole branch of federal law that applies only to the indigenous population of the United States.
Okay.
So yeah, we need more people to learn about that, especially Indigenous people, because the U.S. government has only ever wanted to fuck us over. They're just trying to make us not exist anymore. That's the whole history in like one sentence of like the relationship between the United States and Indigenous people is just like, we want you to go away. That's what they
Right,
want
right.
of us, right?
Yeah.
So we've had to work really hard to not go away.
Sure.
But yeah,
Now,
so
what-
our next
now,
one is food.
I mean, besides the attack of the government on the indigenous people is always about resources 99% of the time, right?
yeah, very often.
Is that what
yeah.
it is? Is that
Well,
what
land,
the biggest struggle with
because
you
of
guys
course
is?
land is the resource, right? And this
100%,
land,
right.
every fucking inch of the United States and actually of the Americas was indigenous land.
100%.
And almost all of it has been stolen. Like there were these really like token efforts to like, oh, we're going to sign a treaty and we'll trade you. They made it look like they're trying to be above board, but they almost never were. So yeah, the whole United States is founded on some shystery,
Oh, 100%.
raping, thieving, fucked up shit. But they don't tell anybody that, right?
Go
They
white
tell
people.
you about this really wonderful story of westward expansion and moving
Right.
out west and like, look at these pioneers. And it's like, okay, but you forgot about all the fucking violence and theft and lying
Right.
that you actually did along the way.
But do you think that people really don't know that enough? Because I mean,
No,
I think
'cause
it's
they're not
very
taught.
well. I think it's maybe it's the circle that I'm in, because
Yeah.
I'm interested, but. I think 99% of people know what we did to the native people was fucking horrendous. But the question is kind of what we were talking about. Like, what literally can we... First of all, my ancestors weren't here. You know what I
Right.
mean? So, like, how much are we responsible for that past fucking egregious behavior? Like, what could people do to honor the past, but it's not going to go back. I mean, no one's given all the land back. No one's,
Right, and
I'm
we
not
know
trying
that.
to be goaty here.
No,
or
I
anything.
know exactly
but
where
like,
you're coming from.
what literally could people understand that would help the indigenous people know that they understand the plight? But what do we, what do you do?
The biggest
You know what I
thing
mean?
is
Like,
just support indigenous issues, because
Okay.
like the main thing. So reservations historically were a place to like sequester native people on a little chunk of land so
Yes.
that they'll die.
Yeah.
That was really the ultimate
Yeah.
goal of
And
reservations.
still a lot of them are that way.
Yeah.
It's
Oh yeah.
rough,
Like
yeah.
they
There's
created some
really
reservations
good-
that didn't even fucking have water on
Right,
them.
yeah.
Like a
Yeah. I mean,
basic necessity.
I've been on
for
a few of them, and
existence, right?
it's pretty wild.
Yeah.
Some of them.
So-
There's some of them. There's a few of them.
Yeah.
That are incredible.
Oh yeah.
But there's a lot of them. And I grew up in them. I grew up around them up
Mm.
in Washington.
Yeah.
But we spend our 4th of July at Indian reservations all the time.
Yeah.
And it's not It's not mansions.
No,
you know,
it's
and,
not.
and
You know,
back
they
then,
go, "Here, you
weren't
guys
even-
can have this
They weren't
area,"
paid for
you know?
anything at all at that point. And now they get paid for this different stuff, but they're still not given something like they just okay. Here's money,
Yeah.
but you don't just need the money. You need a purpose.
Yeah.
And they're not given a purpose. So you're just like,
Well, the
here's
thing
a
is, we
bunch
don't
of money
need to
for
be
the
given
logging
a
and all
purpose.
that.
That's been the problem. Is like the United States government. It's like, okay, so we're responsible. So we're going to just figure out everything you need
Hold
for
on.
yourselves.
When I say that is we all need a purpose. There's there's not a person in this world that doesn't need some sort of purpose.
Right.
Of course.
And if you don't have that purpose and you're not taught like this is how we get this is how we do this, whatever your culture is, it doesn't matter whatever it is. If you're brought up in a way and you're not given a way to learn that you need to work and to do stuff to make yourself feel like a human, and you're just you turn to drugs, you turn to alcohol, you turn to fentanyl, you turn to heroin, you turn to meth. But
we can
you
safely
know what I
say,
mean? Like whatever culture that is, and growing up around this, I was at the reservations. My uncle Hezekiah was Native, and it was nobody in that family came out okay.
Right.
And they would get checks for, and whatever the check was, the amount was,
Can
it
I
didn't matter.
interject
It was
on
rough.
this,
Yes, please.
Because people like to act like it's like, oh, because the natives just don't know what to do with themselves anymore, and nobody talks about the fact that entire generations of indigenous people were forced into these fucking boarding schools. My grandma was 5 years old. Think about any 5-year-old you know.
Right.
She
I
was
have one
put
right
into
now.
this fucking institution that beat the shit out of you if you
Right.
spoke your native language.
Right.
They hated these kids.
Right.
They hated everything. So here you're 5. We're going to put you in an institution that fucking hates you fundamentally, and they're going to tell you everything about you's wrong. They're going to sexually abuse you. They're going to emotionally abuse you. They're going to physically abuse you. And then they're just going to send you back out in the world because you're white enough now,
Yeah.
and you got to go raise families
You
after
better
like
acclimate
a
or
whole
die.
life of being
Yeah.
traumatized. And we have generations of that.
Right.
So it's like, yes, there are eras of being lost, but also like we're talking about an entire group of people that were intentionally traumatized and then not giving nobody fucking talked about this.
Right.
Like everybody talks about the civil rights movement and slavery. No one until just the past probably 5 years ever talked about fucking boarding schools.
Right.
Most Americans didn't even know they were a fucking thing.
Totally.
Unless you're native and you're like, oh yeah, my grandma went to that.
Totally,
My mom
yeah.
did too, but I think at that point they probably started beating them. They just verbally abused them, I think, when my mom went, you know?
Yeah.
So like people don't, like the whole stereotype of the drunk native was rooted to this like whole idea of like, what's wrong with the native people? How come they can't assimilate? They just can't handle alcohol. Must be a genetic predisposition. And it's like, no. You actually abused all of them and then just sent them out to raise kids. Like,
Right.
you know what I mean? Like there's whole big chunks of the story that no one's talking about
Right.
until very recently or learning about. It's
Right.
like, no, actually you have a lot of high rates of alcoholism in these communities because you're talking about generations of despair and abuse
Totally.
with no system in place to help them recover or do
Yeah.
anything better. And so that's starting to change in these really beautiful ways. And the way it's changing is we're like, okay, fuck all of you guys.
Right.
We're going to do our own thing over here.
Autonomy
Right?
is what
Yeah,
you guys want,
exactly.
right,
Like
yeah.
we're going to go back to like who we are as people, which is like we're a community. We take care of each other.
Right.
We know how to love each other. We go fishing and fish for each other.
Sure.
You know, like, and we do that. I don't ever expect money or anything back from anyone I give fish to. And I give 85% of the food that I get gets given away.
Yeah.
I keep 10 or 15%. And I'm just saying that rough numbers, but just like, I don't want
She
anything
cans
back.
all this stuff herself.
Fucking
She
A.
goes out
Yep.
and harvests
Yeah.
deer.
I smoke it, I get the wood, I
And-
do all the
yeah.
things, I put it in the
Yeah.
jar,
Yeah.
I make sure everything's clean. I don't want anyone getting sick, so my products are fucking clean and beautiful
Right.
and safe for people.
Yeah.
You
Well,
know?
That's
so
great.
that's what I was saying is the fact that like for a long time there is no there's no purpose behind what you do every day.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of cultures that don't have that, and it
Yeah.
really reflects, you know, because
Right.
you don't have a purpose, you don't have anything, you're not taking care of your community, you're not, you know, and then not only you're not taking care of it, you're now in that succubus of violence and where you're not
Despair.
trying to exactly, and that's exactly what I was talking about. So not just where you're at, because I watch this stuff that goes on across a lot of the reservations across the United States is just horrendous.
Yeah.
You know, but then I also see these ones where they're flourishing and they're doing really, really well, and they're wealthy, but it's because they've gotten that purpose together.
Yep.
They've gotten like, okay, we need to let that go and work on us and bring us all up together.
Yep.
Which is what I was talking about when I hear you talk about, like, no, it's not about just getting the herring. It's not about just getting the salmon. It's not about harvesting a deer. It's about, I get to harvest this deer. I'm going to take this hindquarter. I'm going to do that. And then I'm going to jar up, because she does jar venison.
That's so
she
good.
She jars the
It's
venison
so
up. And then she gives it to She gives it to us. She gives it to everybody.
Yeah.
You know, but it's to
You could add me to
get that
list,
purpose.
that's
All
just
right.
it.
Okay.
And I'll take the herring too.
Okay.
Yeah, but I mean, this kind of circling back to my question is like, what is it that the indigenous people could have now that would really be beneficial? Is it autonomy? Is it just to have everyone stop fucking with them and being able to live?
Yeah, pretty much.
I mean,
And we're
is that
getting
what
there.
are like the biggest issues like with this right now?
Okay, for starters, I will
you're
never
not
purport to speak for all
everybody.
indigenous
Yeah.
people.
No,
I'll
of
never
course
do
not.
that.
Yeah.
Every community and every tribe has their own specific things that they're
100%.
dealing
Yeah.
with, right? Alaska has this
according to
real weird
Alaska,
history.
yeah.
I think the biggest thing would be, because actually, so the federal government, as fucked up as all of the initial shit was, they are actually now the most like, they actually have mandates now to incorporate, this is new, but incorporate indigenous knowledge into all of the science and research that affects indigenous communities. You have to incorporate that into this. Like, it's a fucking federal mandate. They're still figuring out what that means and how to do it. Actually, our biggest adversaries at this point are the states. The state of Alaska, man, they've been some motherfuckers since the beginning. Like, they fought tooth and fucking nail. And like, they'll use this language of like, with the land claim settlement that happened in the 70s, it's like, all right, well, we gave you this land. And I'm like, motherfucker, this was all of our land, right? We're actually letting you keep a portion of it. We just want to keep our village sites. We want to keep our hunting and fishing areas clean and safe.
Right.
And then it was promised and didn't happen. So like, I think if we could get to a point where the states stop fucking fighting Native interests, because the thing is, we're not trying to take everything like y'all did. We just want to like protect our little area. We want our community. We want our hunting and fishing areas. We want to be able to take care of ourselves without you fucking constantly in there and telling us what's best for us or constantly fighting us, right? Just let us do our fucking thing.
Right.
And when that happens, in those small cases that it does, you have really thriving communities, right? Like, we know how to take care of ourselves. We don't need you to tell us what to do. Just stay away. You know,
just
like,
get out of our
you know,
shit.
go ahead. You have your city, do your fucking thing. Let us just keep our communities and like care for them and administer them in the way that we see fit. So,
yeah, it's a weird, because it's like, I know a lot about the plight of it. I've never, you know, but I also, the one thing that I kind of wanted to ask as well, because this is kind of an off the wall question, but so I grew up poor as shit, right?
Yeah.
I struggled as much as every other fucking poor kid. I mean, yes, I'm sure reservations, some of the Native communities are systematically fucked, right? But also, so is the ghetto in Oxnard, and so is every other ghetto.
Yep.
Like, me as a kid that grew up poor as fuck, why do I have to bend over backwards? And I'm not saying I feel like this. I'm just saying that this is a question I'm throwing out because I'd love to hear your perspective. Why would I have to bend over backwards to care about everyone else's fucking plight and the indigenous plight when I grew up just as poor and just as fucked up as everyone else did? And that's like a perspective that, you know, and like I said, I don't feel like this. I'm just saying, I'm throwing it out there because I think it's important. Like, why?
Absolutely.
It's hard for Americans to give a fuck about anything because we're all struggling, right? And there is a thing. It's like, yes, it was your land. It was fucked up. It's 200 years later, whatever, you know, I'm sure it's happening still, but man, I'm fucking dying here too. You know what I mean? Like, my house just got taken by the goddamn bank. You know what I mean? Why should I give a fuck about everyone else? You know what I mean?
Because
like,
actually, if we all start recognizing that our plight comes from a similar place, which is these wealthy motherfuckers that are sucking up everything in the world, like, if we actually recognize that it's like, okay, our situation is the same,
100%,
and it's because of a real small group of people in the world who have made us think that we deserve to be poor, right? That our labor isn't worth enough to live a good life. If we actually start connecting rather than comparing and just being like, hey man, you're fucked over too, aren't you? Fucking A.
Yeah.
And it's
If
all the
we
same
actually
people.
start getting along, we'll fucking change everything.
Yeah.
But nobody wants that, right? Because like the people who are in positions of power don't want change because it's always been working to benefit a smaller group of people.
100%,
right?
yeah.
This idea that wealth equals power drives me fucking insane. Because inherently I've always been like, I don't give a shit if you're a senator. I'm not going to call you Senator so-and-so. My name's Forrest. Your name's Bob. Hi, Bob. Like you're not better than me because you have more money or because you live in this position. But we all kind of just go along with that, right? Because you're famous or you wrote a bunch of books or you were the governor, you're somehow a better human. No, you're fucking not. Nobody's better. We're all human beings. We're all in this together. But a lot of people buy into this sort of hierarchy. And that's what keeps us divided.
And they're doing, like, we see it every day, all the time in the news cycle. Whichever way you want to go, it doesn't matter. Everybody is like, oh, this fucking little dick dude in this big giant truck with this fucking MAGA flag. You're the same person as the little mask-wearing person in the Prius rolling around. It's because it's a small room. You cover most of it, but you can't like it's the same. You know, you're just picking a different person that you think is much more whole, but that they're all controlled by the same people.
Yeah, because like who benefits? Who benefits?
None of us.
When we're divided like that, right? We don't benefit from that, but somebody fucking does.
Yeah.
So like, I think
we're
that
at
care.
and it is everybody is talking about inflation and all this different stuff, and we have to get Kamala in there to change this. Wait, you've been there. You've been here.
Not gonna change anything.
No, but but nobody is.
No.
Nobody is.
No one.
The fucking Cheeto face fuck isn't going to change anything
absolutely
either.
not. They
but
neither of them give a
the point
shit
of it
about
is like,
anyone.
oh, how do you? But that's where we go back to trying to get it back into like we need to understand as a community that we have to start looking at you know the people that they could maybe get to that are like actually saying stuff that might make some sort of change. They're immediately just bastardize them. Whoever it is, you know, they are like, hey, wait a minute, you're not 90 years old and be a part of the problem forever. Or no, you're a nut because you had a worm in your head. Or, you know, I don't know what they say about Tulsi, but there's got to be something because she's saying the right stuff.
If the rich and powerful can convince us that the other poor people are fucking
the brown
worse.
people are the problem.
You know what I mean?
Or this group of people are the problem.
These rogue
right? We're not
fucking
actually
white trash neighborhoods are the problem.
Growing up when I did around some of the reservations I grew up in, I was not welcome at all, and it was like you just stayed away from there, you're going to get beat up. Just the same as I went through in Oxnard, same thing I went through in Detroit. It was poor people beating up poor people. I'm white. But hey, man, I'm going to the same food bank you're going to, fucker. Like, we're all going to the same food bank. Neither one of us are getting a good education. Neither one of us are eating good food. You know what I mean? My favorite meat still to this day is ground beef. Why? Either that or pork, because it's cheap. It's what I grew up eating. I didn't eat steak until I was an adult. You know what I mean? So we're all living the same program. We just have to live this program together and understand and go back against the but how are we going to do that?
Like the system is actually it pushes you away from a concept of community, right? It's always about what can I get? What can I do to benefit myself, right? Or like how can I get ahead? Because honestly, community is where we're the most powerful, right? Like when we all have a strong sense of community and connection and caring about my neighbors and caring about these people over here that I don't really know, but I know they live near me and they might need some help, right? Like we have so much strength in our capacity for community. But like it's like everything about society is structured in a way now to push you away from that, right?
They push you into cities. They push you into all sorts of things.
Don't trust your neighbor. Don't trust them. You might
if
be
you
a
see
serial
something,
killer.
say something.
Oh, exactly. Right? It's like be suspicious.
Totally.
You know, rather than be like, hey, is everything okay? Can I help? You know,
totally, man.
When she was growing up as a child, everybody knew who she is. Everybody knew who her mom is. They know who her dad is that's not even here anymore and hasn't been, and what an asshole he is.
Right.
You know, because that is what they think. I don't think that, Uncle Jimmy. I think you're awesome. I don't
Love
think.
you, Dad.
Yes, you're. I know you're never going to listen to this because I'm not preaching Jesus.
No.
But that community knew each other and they helped raise you. Everybody raises everybody. And nowadays, man, it just doesn't. That's what gets lost.
Yeah.
We don't know each other, and when we do know each other, we're suspect.
Right.
You know, your kids can't. Like, we have kids that live across the street from us. It's the best. We pay that kid $2 a month. He comes and takes our trash cans out for us on every Thursday. Is it $2 a week?
Yeah.
He comes and pulls our trash cans out.
Aw.
Yeah, and he pulls them out right behind my truck so I can't get it out.
Right.
I don't care.
Right.
The kid is on it.
Yeah.
Hey. You owe me $10.
Oh,
You know,
all
and
right.
like, no, I love it. It's
Yeah.
awesome because that kid knows who I am, knows who she is,
Right.
and is part. And like, but that's so lost. That's the one neighbor around us. Well, not the one. We got great
do
neighbors
have
around
good
us,
neighbors,
but
yeah.
but we're lucky in our community.
Right.
I think
You know?
we should learn to be re-inspired by kids sometimes,
Oh,
because kids
yeah.
are like they're the embodiment of what it is to be human before we've been trained to be all these other
Totally,
things,
yeah.
right? To be shy or stoic or fucking whatever it is. Like, kids are like the pure human that's like, hey, what are you doing? They're curious and they want to
Yeah,
talk, and like,
totally.
don't get me wrong, kids are fucking annoying,
Yeah.
and I don't have any because I never wanted them. But I also think that kids can be really cool, and we can learn a lot from that. Like, you know,
Yeah.
that just like
I've seen you around
pure
kids.
curiosity and joy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is you around kids.
Yeah.
It really is. You love being around kids. It's awesome.
God, no, I don't.
For about
Shut
20
up.
minutes.
Yeah, 20 minutes.
Yeah,
They start
yeah.
to scream eventually.
Yeah. As soon
Not
as
a
they
fan.
drop your beer, you're like,
Yeah, then it's like, all
all
right.
right, you little fuck.
Yeah.
Time to go. Hey,
It's
go
like
get a towel, wipe it up.
Yeah,
give me
wipe it
another
up
one.
and then go in the other room and
Yeah.
watch cartoons because I'm done now.
All right. Well, here's a question I thought of because you mentioned religion. You know, Uncle believes in God, right?
So hard.
Hardcore.
is I know you can only speak for your shit. What is there a religion? Is there a spiritual belief? Is it nature? What is in the Alaskan Native community? What is the spiritual belief?
Okay, so
She's
you're
all
actually
about
talking
Zeus.
about
I love
20
Zeus.
completely different, like there's like 20 completely different languages
Totally,
and
okay.
cultures in Alaska,
Okay,
so
all right.
none of them are the same.
Right.
Unfortunately, because of missionization and Christianity, which I'm going to just say this out loud, it's almost a disease. Christianity, like the biggest thing they did besides like almost extinguish all of the indigenous languages in like a single generation is they also pretty much eradicated all indigenous religions.
Right.
And I just would like people to pause for a second and realize what that means. We're talking about religions that were developed over like tens of thousands of years.
Right, yeah.
And these motherfuckers just came in and said, nope,
Abolished
you're
it.
wrong. Yeah, just
Yeah.
got rid of it. Because that stuff
Yeah.
goes away real fast.
What are they?
But it's always land-based, which is another thing. It's like, man, we need more of that, right?
Mm-hmm.
When you're connected to the land, you have respect. We would not be in this fucking climate crisis. You know, like everything would be different if you paid attention to what's happening to the world around
Right.
you. So most of
do
the
you mean climate
the
crisis?
spirituality.
What are you talking
Oh,
about?
God,
This
don't-
is a natural
don't-
progression.
You didn't hear last night the Earth is flat?
Yeah. Oh
You
God, I
didn't
know.
catch that?
I had to have a talk with Ted and say, okay,
Oh,
just
don't.
don't ever bring up flat Earth around me again, and we'll be fine. God.
Yeah.
So like,
Yeah.
but honestly, it was
Yeah.
always like based on like the term reciprocity and relationality and responsibility. All these R's,
Slow
but they
down.
matter.
Slow down.
thank
That's a
you.
lot of big
R's.
words right
Yes,
there.
all right,
That was a lot
I'm
of
gonna
hard
slow
R's.
Hard
for
R's.
Jay, dude.
So,
Hard R.
like, if you want to call it religion, and I don't know if you'd call it that, because in my
Yeah,
mind,
I should say
religion,
belief,
like, it
yeah.
brings, there's a lot of, like, worship that comes along, like,
Right.
baggage that comes along with that term. I would say it's more like a spiritual understanding of the world.
Mm-hmm.
It's very place-based and land-based, and you don't see, and this is another thing more people need to see, is, like, we don't see other living things. We don't see humans in a hierarchy as like, okay, humans are the top thing in the world, and then everything else, you know, we're really good at like categorizing
Oh, yeah,
things,
for sure.
you know, that's like,
then
okay,
there's
and
the
then
color
the worms
coordination
down
that
here,
starts at
and
the
then the
top.
shark somewhere here, and then the whale here, or whatever, when in fact,
Well, your fish don't have feelings, so it's
yeah,
fine.
exactly,
They
right?
don't, they don't feel pain. So
Exactly.
we're
God
good.
forbid. Yeah. And that's all a thing that supports extraction and like doing harm to other things that live in the world. But it, like,
And that's why we should be
absolutely, we
vegetarian.
hunted and we fished, we ate meat, right?
Right.
But in that process, like I was saying with the salmon, like we do this from a place of respect and care. Like we didn't just like the moose weren't ours to take. The moose presents itself to us because we're a good ethical hunter. And we have gratitude for that animal that's given its life to us. And so we treat everything in the world in that same way. You are careful, you do little damage, you pay attention, and you recognize you have a responsibility to make sure the other living things around you are doing well, that they're also thriving, that when you pick berries, that you know the bears are going to come and need these berries too. So you don't pick all the berries, you pick a little bit, but leave some for the bears that are going to come out of hibernation
shoot
soon.
that bear when it comes out and they eats all those blueberries.
Well, they're tastiest when they're fresh out of the den because they don't they don't get a lot of that.
Or they've been doing the blueberries. Yeah. The blueberry fat thing with the bears, it just sounds so good, man.
Yeah, it does.
Where
Bears
the
are so
meat just
cool.
is so sweet. They're not eating the salmon because
not
when
yet.
salmon spawn and they do all this, they also just die, and then the bears come and eat it.
Yeah.
That bear meat is gross to me.
They prefer live salmon. Like they're not eating dead rotten salmon unless they don't have an option. Unless like
But you
they're
still get a fishy.
you can't.
And
Well, of
I'm
course, because
speaking on a
their
turn.
whole diet is
One of my
salmon.
favorite podcasts, and I really seriously am going to start a fucking campaign to get you on the podcast, is the Meat Eater podcast. And they talk to people like
I'd
I just
love
talked
to.
about, because they explain all of this. They talk about the harvest and all this stuff, and they're the ones that are like, yeah, a bear that's been eating salmon for the last 3 months is a little rough.
Yeah.
I killed it. I'm eating
You're
it.
gonna fucking eat it. Yeah.
Period.
But I'm not like,
But
yay.
I want,
Yum.
I want that bear that when I open it up, the fat is literally blue.
Yeah.
You know, I want that.
They are some
Yeah.
berry eating motherfuckers.
But it's
man,
about
let me tell you.
honoring the earth. It's
Yeah.
about honoring the land. I mean,
Honoring and
are
respecting.
are they praying to anything?
No prayer.
Dispel some of the
Yeah,
tropes.
to the men.
Gross. God. No, it's more like it would be a process of like meditation and contemplation more than it's prayer. And like you'll hear people talk. We call it prayer because I think that's the word
name
that
for it now.
generally
Yeah.
encompasses it the most.
Yeah.
And you might say like you're thinking about the creator. But just for
Right.
starters, the creator doesn't have gender because the fact that a godlike being would have gender is the stupidest white people thing I've ever
It's not
fucking
just
heard.
white
You're an
people.
omnipotent
It's
being,
not just
but you're
white
gonna have
people.
a dick.
It's
Fuck
all
you.
cultures
That's
across the
no,
world know
bullshit.
that men are
Like,
the ones
how
that run
absurd
shit.
is that?
Come
Why do
on.
you need gender?
Who built the
You're
college you work at?
omnipotent.
Who built the
you
college you
don't
work
need
at?
to fuck things.
Who
you
built
just
the
make everything
Who built
happen.
the net that you used to dip net? Men did. We are
No, actually,
the ones.
they didn't.
We are the gods.
Women were the net builders, you dumb.
Well, that's
but
because
keep
we were
talking
doing
shit.
busy stuff.
You just
we had
pull
real
shit
things to
straight
do.
out of your butthole
That's 'cause her tiny
and bring it
little
up
hands
to your
fit in
mouth
better.
and then say it out loud.
Because
Yeah,
it's easier
yeah.
for you to get in there and get those little nuts. For me, it's hard. I got these hands.
Wow. That was such a switch. You went from like the men are the net builders, and then I give you facts, and you're like,
I
well,
can
of
do
course
this,
the
I
women
can
are
do
the
this
net
all
builders.
day. By the way, if you guys don't know, this is our backyard, and it goes on until we
Someone
start
gets
yelling
mad.
at each other
Yeah.
and get mad.
It eventually
or,
gets there.
Or old crabby butt here gets tired, and then I just go, "Oh shit, shut up, Jay."
Yeah.
Be
'Cause he's scared of me.
Hide. Well,
Appropriately.
Yeah. Yeah, it gets really uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You're gonna
quick.
wake up in one of those
Look,
fucking
I'm a
fish nets.
sweetheart,
dude.
but I'm still village as
You're
fuck.
a sweetheart until you
Yep.
get tired.
I am
You get
village as
Village,
fuck, man.
that is
Yeah.
the name of this
Dude.
fucking podcast. Village AF.
Yeah, village AF.
Yeah.
Yep.
I love it to death. There's nothing I look forward to more than getting a chance to sit with her
know.
and talk
Right.
about shit that all this shit that I know is going to piss her off, but I ask the questions because I want to know. I want to see a different perspective because my perspective it's my perspective.
Yeah.
And so I like to ask the questions because I want to know how other people feel about it. It pisses people off. But I'm truly curious about the process, you know.
Is there in the indigenous culture a history of how this place was made, the universe?
Oh yeah, and everyone is different.
What is
so
the one that you're-
Americas they generally call Turtle Island, but you're talking north and south. Like all of North America is generally called Turtle Island, and everyone has a different creation story. The Tlingit creation story is about Raven. So we have the
How do you say that? Say
What?
that.
Tlingit.
Yeah, I can't say any normal
So it's
English.
Tlinget.
Yeah.
So that's like if you're trying to say a T and an L at the same time, but with more air.
Yeah. Have you heard me try to say T?
So the way they say it, like the way the white folks started saying it, because they couldn't do that sound, is they say clink it.
Yeah.
So that's what you'll hear. You'll hear people say clink it. And that's what everyone just says because, apparently white folks can't make sounds.
It's like saying jalapeno.
But it's fling it.
Jalapeno.
Jalapeno.
Yeah, exactly. So like their creation story has to do with Raven. Oh man, this is a whole nother subject when you talk about oral histories.
I would love to hear it.
Oh God,
If you
it's
don't
incredible.
Can we pause for a second?
Yeah.
Can you pause for a second? Please?
Yeah.
I gotta go to the bathroom.
Okay, I'll
I
pee
have to
too.
go. I gotta pee so bad that I feel like I
Go to the Klingit, dude.
Sing it, clink it.
It's bad. It's been bad.
Yeah,
I
I'm
gotta
gonna need to
so
pee,
fucking
too.
bad.
All right. So a little
Where-
pee break real quick.
Yeah.
Yay.
Please tell us the creation story according to what you know.
Okay, so I'm not gonna tell the whole story.
Yeah.
You can find it on the internet.
There you go.
But
Give us the hits.
Tlingit is Tlinget. Look it up. Look creation story up. But Raven, so Tlingit and the Haida have two clans. You're either, if you're Tlingit or Haida, you're either an eagle or you're a raven, and that structures all of society. And it's matrilineal, which means your clan comes to you through your mother. So kind of the opposite of how, like in the West, it's patrilineal, right? You generally, historically, would take the man's name and like it goes that way. In indigenous cultures in the Pacific Northwest, it goes through your mom. So my clan came to me. I'm an eagle. I'm Lakshkik, which is a Tsimshian word for eagle clan. We actually have 4 clans. We have eagle, raven, killer whale, and wolf. So Lakshkik, Ganhada, Lakibu, or Gispudwada.
I'm a Raven's Claw.
Yeah. And as you're rushing through this, just understand that we are fascinated by it, and it's more than just the
Forgetting
so we
I go
don't-
fast. Yeah,
you
thank
do,
you
and
for
you're
that
kind
reminder.
of brushing through it, and
That's
to
fine.
us, it's really important.
Right.
I want to understand.
Thank you for that reminder.
You
Yeah,
have to
I
speak
just
slow when you're talking about it.
gotcha.
She
Yeah,
knows that.
I do. I
Yeah,
do.
we all know that.
So the Haida and the Tlingit have an eagle or a raven. You're one or the other. The Tsimshian, which is my clan, my tribe, I guess, I hate all of those words. My nation, whatever. That's my ancestry and my indigeneity. We're from what is now called coastal British Columbia, the Nass and Skeena rivers. We've been there for a long time. Our language has actually been untraceable to any other language. It's called an isolate.
Really?
Which is very rare. Almost all languages can be connected at some point to another language in history. So, like English is related to it's in the Germanic
Are
language
you
family.
fluent in your language?
No, almost nobody is.
Almost
because
nobody is.
that thanks
Wow.
missionaries. But anyway,
Yeah,
Christianity
seriously.
did that.
Yeah.
So
Thanks,
yeah.
Obama.
Thanks, Jesus.
Yeah.
Trump's trying to bring it back. I just was hearing how he's all for it.
Yeah.
It's the best.
So yeah,
language ever.
a lot about our cultures. So the Haida, the Tlingit, and the Tsimshian are very similar. If you look at our art, it's form line is what it's called. You've probably all at least encountered it, and you're not sure. You can all fucking Google it. But you'll see a lot of similarities. You can tell the difference if you're an expert, but you'll see a lot of similarities in design style and color use. But yeah, so I'm eagle. I'm Lakshkik. I'm eagle because my mother, my grandmother, my great-grandmother, as far back as you can trace it, have been eagles.
Okay.
You never marry your same clan. You always marry your opposite. So because we have 4, all the other 3 are my opposites, but you would never, you'd probably be sort of shunned in your community
It's
if
like
you married
inbreeding,
someone. Yeah,
essentially.
basically.
Right.
Yeah, so you don't, if you're in the same clan, even if you're not genetically related, that's still your family. Like,
Yeah.
this is my clan brother or my clan sister. But also this is what you're talking about, like, as far as social structure is, like, your family wasn't just the nuclear family that we're all used to, except unless you're poor, and then your family tends to be a little bigger, as you know, right? Like your cousins, your aunties, your uncles, your adopted family, right? That whole nuclear family concept was not really a thing. Like family was also like everybody in your clan is actually really common too for people to, like if you have a clan sister or someone in your group that can't have kids, it was really common to have a kid for someone. So like my sister and their husband can't have babies, so I've got 4 kids. I'm gonna have another kid, and I'm gonna give this kid to them. And for a lot of white folks, that seems really weird. Like that feels uncomfortable for people.
That's wild. Yeah.
Right? But like for us, it's like, well, not really, because we're still all part of the same clan, right? Like I'm still a part of this child's life. It's just my sister and my sister's husband are now going to be the primary caretakers. We also did something too that I think that should be a thing. And Jay does this already, where when we did this specifically with men, when your son reaches a certain age, usually like 12, right before this kind of rite of passage to becoming a man, you moved out of your parents' house and you moved in with your uncle. So your aunts and uncles are actually like, those are your other parents.
Wow.
And you do that because there's a thing, and we all kind of know this, when you're a parent, you love your kids and you spoil them, and you struggle giving them the boundaries that they need to be a strong person, right? Like, so we did naturally and normally is the boys at a certain age would then go live with their uncle and their aunt, and it was then the uncle's responsibility to start training them, because they still love you, but they're not going to put up with any of your shit.
Right,
you know what I mean? Right?
Yeah,
Like they're not going to listen to the whining and the bitching. You're going to get your ass up and you're going to go out and you're going to do that cold plunge every fucking morning.
Wow.
And so like we have this conception of family that was much broader and more like it was always about not, again, just that individual small group of people, but it's like by doing this, we're creating a better group of people by developing this sort of strength, by nurturing people's gifts in a particular way. Also by like broadening the concept of gender, all of these things, it wasn't weird. It was just normal. It's how you create a healthy society of people that care about each other and support each other and respect each other. Is being open, but also like, not so confined in what the family, like quote unquote family actually is.
Wow.
So yeah.
That's beautiful.
It is. Yeah. So I am technically, if I were to marry someone, and I will never marry anyone because I hate the whole fucking institution of marriage, except for Courtney's. That was really cute. I love her, but I just don't buy into it personally.
Yeah.
But like I couldn't marry an eagle. I'd have to marry a raven. Anyway, so a raven is a really critical figure in almost all Pacific Northwest Coast oral histories and like understandings of the world. So raven actually has to do with the reason why we have light. Like there was this greedy person. I'm not going to give you the whole story. Look it up.
Yeah.
There was a person who was greedy and kept light in this box in this one little house. And Raven decided he wanted to make a world. And so Raven, being very, very crafty and smart, and we all know ravens are, went and stole the light from this house and then brought it out and gave it to the world.
Oh, wow.
So yeah, we have light in the world because of Raven.
Wow. That's amazing, man.
Yeah. That was the really shortened version of it.
Yeah. Yeah, it's amazing, man. Fuck. When are you heading out of town?
Tomorrow I gotta go. I teach class on Tuesday.
Oh boy. Good times.
Come take classes with me. I teach online classes. I'm a really fun professor. You won't be bored, I promise.
Yeah, you can watch her destroy salmon on live stream.
I will destroy salmon. No, I don't destroy. I have gratitude for the salmon that give their lives to me. What I will destroy is your understanding of the world.
Ooh, fucking,
that's my favorite part of my job. I'm gonna fuck up your life, and you'll be grateful for it. So,
and I do think we should talk about this a little bit. The wedding was awesome.
God, wasn't it?
I mean, we had a fucking great time, dude. And I do appreciate you for making me marry your daughter.
Yeah, it was awesome, man.
Yeah, we had a really good time, dude.
Can we shout out to Honey LaPointe for all of the fucking work that she did? What an amazing
she's so tired today that in this insanely exciting podcast, she's actually snoring.
She's been nodding off.
She's nodding out and snoring the whole time, which is totally justified.
Yep.
And you are,
No, do not apologize for that.
I heard her. And I was like, oh, what the fuck? I looked over and she was dead asleep.
If you ever want someone to plan any sort of event for you,
worked her ass off,
that's
man.
your girl. She's her aesthetic and it was so perfectly and beautifully like Courtney and Ted, like everything about it was just
from Jay
really
throwing his daughter down a hill to fucking
because of course he did. Fucking dummy.
It was just beautiful, man. I had such a good time yesterday. And one thing I did want to say is that I caught you and Ted having this beautiful conversation. We were by the bathroom, dude. And so I'm standing there, and him and Ted are just having this beautiful heart-to-heart, dude. And I'm waiting for the bathroom. I'm either going to shit my pants or I have a massive fart. One of the two, right? And because I haven't drank beer or alcohol in like a month, right? So I'm high in on beers. And they're just this beautiful moment. They're hugging each other. He's like, "You're my dad," this and that. And I ripped the loudest fart right in the middle of it just to break it up. That was my highlight.
Yeah.
Well, I love because what Jay's favorite thing to do, you know he loves you when he publicly throws you under the bus.
Yeah, oh, yeah.
So
Yeah.
he's like, he had this really wonderful speech, and he's like, "Oh, I love you," and like Nova, Ted's little girl, came up, and you know, "I'm your grandpa," blah. And then like he was done, and then he's like, he grabs the microphone back. Jason does like, "Oh, by the way, Ted's a flat earther."
Yeah.
He's like, "Oh wait, we got to make sure everyone gives him shit about that," you know, like that he gives the microphone to Ted.
And I heard you go, "You're not. Are you really?" No.
I know. I'm a little heartbroken.
That's
God.
fine, dude. Yeah, Ted's a fucking sweetheart,
He
man.
is a sweetheart.
It was
Man,
very,
I
very,
think
very
one
cool.
of the biggest problems with our country today is YouTube
Dude.
and marijuana.
Right, yeah.
You know,
I have
cannabis
hands
and
down, dude.
YouTube.
Yeah, if you're
will
high
send
enough,
you in
a
a
flat
rabbit
Earth
hole.
video will get
Yeah.
you. Dude.
Oh yeah. I have two cousins that are
Yeah.
really, really
Yeah.
brilliant but super lazy, and they've only
Yeah.
ever smoked weed their whole lives. So yeah,
Yeah.
fucking flat earthers, Holocaust deniers,
Oh,
like
nice,
you
dude.
name all of
Yeah.
them. Oh yeah, the
All the
whole
things,
it's
yeah.
real well-rounded
That's beautiful, man.
conspiracy theory, and it's all like you name it, they've got it.
God, yeah.
And
Yeah.
it's because of fucking YouTube.
It's YouTube,
you know?
man. Yeah, it's
Jesus
beautiful.
Christ.
But the wedding was awesome, man, and I was very excited to be a part of it. And yeah, it was a
too.
beautiful
Very
day,
grateful
man.
for everybody being here.
Yeah.
I'm stoked that you're going to be here. And honey, you just killed it.
Yeah.
God damn
Honey
it.
fucking killed it.
Just a little
And
round of
let's
applause
shout
for
out
this
Honey's
lady.
Pies again.
Honey Pie.
Right.
Honey pie.
Is that what
Honey
the
Pie
Instagram
is
is?
805.
Honey Pie 805.
Honey Pie 805. If you guys want pies, absolutely get on it, dude.
Yeah.
Or any desserts, really.
Yeah, or any desserts.
Dessert bar for your parties or events.
There you go. Yeah. Yeah, it's beautiful. Well, it was absolutely awesome having you on. I
Thanks
really,
for
really
having me.
appreciate
It's
it.
been fun
Thank
to
you
be
for your
here.
perspective and for shitting on this guy. To hear a doctor called Jay Dumb is just the highlight of my day.
It's official.
Well, and that
She's,
is
Yeah.
she's not a doctor. She's
I am
not
a doctor,
like-
bitch.
No, it's kind of a thing. It's
Forest,
like, it's not like
Star Haven,
Yeah, but are
PH,
you operating on
motherfucking
people?
D. I
Are
have
you
a.
doing like heart surgery?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm not a medical doctor. Oh no,
yeah.
I'm not a medical doctor. I'm a smart doctor.
No.
Medical doctors just remember shit. They memorize. I actually.
Doctor hasn't expanded to the other.
Yeah, no, to the other things. Yeah, yeah. I'm actually smart. I have to theorize things.
Yeah,
Are
Jay's
you?
just hoping that he doesn't have to call you when his heart fucking.
Well, don't, because
yeah,
I'm not
yeah.
going to be able to
No.
help you.
That's the only doctor he's
You
ever-
want to talk about, I
She's
don't
gonna
know,
cry
critical
like
race
the rest
theory.
Of you guys when it fucking explodes.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it was
No, I'm
absolutely
gonna
awesome
yell.
having you on. Yeah. Any
Sorry,
last
yeah.
final words, Jay?
I love you guys. Thank you
Yeah.
very much for
Yeah.
yesterday. It was awesome. I can't express enough. I would get phone calls asking me, "What about this? What about that?" And I'd be like, "Here's Christine LaPointe's number. Talk to her because I'm just paying for it. Other than that, I have nothing to do with it." And it
So
was
fucking lucky.
I know.
He's
So
Yeah,
incredible.
I,
Yeah.
I think I've earned that luck, but
Yeah.
I'm
You
very
have.
grateful.
Yeah.
You're all right
You know,
sometimes.
I'm grateful for you. I'm grateful for you, Kenny. What is it? The
MVP.
MVP
360 MVP, right?
Man, he
There we
set
go.
up a photo booth
Yeah.
and sat
It was
there all
great,
day,
too. Thank
dressed
you.
up like
That
a
was so
G.
fun.
Yeah, he wore a suit and everything, dude.
Just,
Look at him.
He just killed it yesterday, and it was just so much fun. And
Yeah.
as you guys know, I appreciate all of you guys, and I love you guys. 1091 Scandy Avenue, Garage Bar. Come by, see us. We'll be there in about an hour.
Beautiful. Let's get out of here. Bye.
Bye.
Out with you, buddy. You need to calm down.
You're on one today, dude.
I've been on one, bro.
Yeah.
It started yesterday morning.
All right.
Honey, hand me that little cheech, will you please? Which is hilarious.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Pedro.
Are you
I
drinking
know.
this?
Why isn't that living up there? I feel like that deserves a place of prominence.
You know, because
They can hang out
need to have
together.
the pentagram.
Well, the pentagram
The pentagram
and
is
Pedro there
important.
can be friends.
Pedro, it's Cheech.
Well, it says Pedro on the bottom.
It does say
Does
Pedro.
it say
on the
Pedro? Is
bottom.
that what they called it? It's Pedro? But you know
Yeah.
that was the...
I know. That's why the sound
Are we
song
good
came
at
out.
framing
I
wise,
never
Kenny?
know with you
Cameras are
'cause you're
good?
sometimes very ditzy.
Or smart.
Ah,
I'm just so much smarter than you.
No,
It's hard for you to
is
figure it
not the
out.
case.
I know. I get
is
it. It's
not the
okay.
case.
It's okay. It's all right.
Your fucking degree
Everybody
in
already knows it, man. It's not a
anthropology.
surprise.
All right. We're rolling? Beautiful.